Technology can be beneficial in many ways, but it can also be frightening, particularly for our elderly parents. I recall my mother's excitement when she received her first smartphone. She gave in to the idea after I nagged and pleaded with her to get one. She ultimately gave in when I threatened to cut off communication with her during an upcoming vacation since I'd be sending messages through the WhatsApp program, which required a smartphone, and I'd be utilizing a cheaper alternative of sending messages through the WhatsApp program throughout my travels. So here's how I taught my elderly parents to use a smartphone. How did it happen? When she came to visit me in Sydney from Johannesburg, she brought it with her, still in its box, leaving us only 3 weeks to learn how to use the device she dubbed the Tarantula since it was dark, menacing, and she didn't want to touch it. Even the act of swiping and tapping instead of pressing the predictable buttons on her old Nokia was a lesson in itself. Then there was the QWERTY phone keyboard, which she had never used before because she had never learned to type or use a computer. Another huge adjustment for her was learning uppercase letters and where the symbols and numbers were located. She screamed at one point, "Why can't I just push the buttons like on my old phone? Give it back to me." I underestimated how difficult it would be to teach elderly parents to use a smartphone. Then something extraordinary occurred. My brother emailed her pictures of his 2 youngsters. She could finally obtain them on her phone by just touching on the message. She had the ability to magnify their characteristics and trace them lovingly. While his Uma was in Australia, the 5-year-old left a pair of WhatsApp voice recordings informing her of his plans to make Lego rockets and advising her to be wary of box jellyfish. She'd been hooked for a long time when all of a sudden she was hooked. She began sharing images from her vacation with her South African pals, and they swiftly responded with their news and greetings. In comparison to past travels, she felt more connected to her small network of friends and family members, and she didn't feel as isolated from them. When she revealed that the Tarantula would now be renamed Alice in Wonderland, I knew we'd made it. Many times, while I was in the kitchen preparing dinner, she'd be seated at the table, tapping away on her phone, which beeped with a barrage of incoming messages. I joked that, like any modern adolescent, I'd have to limit her screen time, and that anyone looking out the window at the moment would do a double take since the younger person was doing the dishes and cooking while the older one was hooked to their smartphone. I was extremely proud of her, and I was astounded at how quickly she'd picked it up, only a few days later. Showing her the new technology's possibilities after she gave up her Nano phone meant I learned as much about her and myself as she did about her new Samsung Galaxy. Because this was a true role reversal event. My mother, from whom I'd learned so much throughout my childhood, became completely reliant on me to teach her skills that were second nature to me. Patience is required when teaching an elderly parent. One of the most important lessons I learned from this experience was that, just like any other human contact, one nasty comment can derail a relationship. Every morning, I had to take my patience pills to ensure that another query about something she had done effortlessly the day before didn't cause her confidence to be shattered by my irritation. She must have done the same for me countless times when I was learning to use the toilet on my own or read as a child. Second, my mother's 40-plus years as a Year 1 teacher appeared to have rubbed off on me a little. It was very satisfying to watch her develop from not understanding how to switch on the phone to appreciating the social connection that exchanging photographs and texts with friends provided. Who thought teaching elderly parents how to use a smartphone could be so fun? I'd asked her to teach me to crochet in exchange for her teaching me how to use the smartphone in a skills swap, as she makes lovely blankets, and I'd been wanting to acquire this talent. However, a simple crochet hook and ball of yarn completely perplexed me, and by the end of the holiday, Mum was able to share multimedia with the rest of the globe while I was still battling with chain stitches. I'm used to swiping, clicking, and tapping on screens, but I had to go back to the beginning to learn how to make granny squares.